What's happening, folks? Vintage Diesel Equipment Service. Me and Damon about to wrap up part 3 to the Jinma 07 Jinma AK 2840 Ag King, or whatever clone you happen to have of this tractor. Just saying. So in our final portion, well, we're going to put on a water neck. Going to put our hose back on. We're going to hook up our drive shaft, and then we finally got our seals to replace this leaky, nasty, disgusting mess that is at both wheel seals, and in no special order. And the hood, and the electrical lights, and the front end loader. You know, basically all of it that's left, which isn't really that much. So without further ado, sorry about the wind noise, we're going to get set up, little time lapse, and we'll get going. Walk you through this. Here we go. Alright folks, so our time lapse died. Maybe it was the battery, maybe it's the Texas heat, I don't know. You can see me, I'm a sweaty wreck. It's hot. But we've got our stuff apart. So, since I know you didn't get to see it all, what we're going to do is I'll show you assembly instead. That'll make better sense to you anyway, okay? And what I'll also do is I'm going to provide an image for you, okay? And it's one of those look, it's this image right here, okay? It's a big old complicated mess. Look, I put the circle there, ignore that. I was just trying to simplify things. Okay, look, let me get it here, okay? Essentially, this is your area. But I'm gonna give you, with any luck, I'll try to put a picture of it on the video for you. No? Well, this is a good thought anyway, right? Maybe I'll remember. I mean, I go back and edit these videos, okay? So I watch myself to a point of exhaustion. Do I like what I see? Not really, but you know, hey, I tell you what, you go shoot a video of you and find out how complicated it is. Because I tell you what, while you're out there, and I've seen a few of you complaining about the quality of these videos. You know what? I don't blame you. Some of them have sucked. I'll say it. What? Somebody has to start somewhere. And I tell you what, there's nothing harder to do than to go back and edit footage of you, because if you're anything like me, every time you watch you, it's just an embarrassment, okay? Because you see 1,000 different ways that you could do something better, but whenever the camera's on, you don't always remember it. So, with that said, a little critique of myself, and just, like I said, go stand in front of a mirror and imagine doing it in front of a camera. I bet you'll get easier about it. So, like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to try and film this on Reassembly. I'll provide a better image of this, and maybe that's going to make better sense to you anyway, because I can kind of explain what needs to be done. This isn't a very complicated one, okay? It's just time consuming. It is a time consuming process. As I've explained in other videos, a lot of your time isn't the disassembly and reassembly, it's the cleanup. That's where the real time spent in these sort of jobs is in cleanup. So, anyway, let's get things situated, finish getting everything cleaned up, okay? And once everything's cleaned up and ready for reassembly, we'll come back and I'll walk you through the process, okay? Here we go. Okay, folks, Damon and I have already disassembled the front end on this. So let me walk you through this process, okay? So, Damon, if you want to come around this way and kind of get in here. This is essentially what you're already looking at here. You've got your attachment here at the top that covers up your bearing and the bolt to your spindle. However, that was real nice. We'll clean that out good. However, before you're gonna want to pull that apart, there's a drain plug on both sides, and you really should start by taking your drain plug out, okay, and draining that out into a pan on both sides so that you don't have to deal with such a mess. And then you're gonna remove these two plates from both sides, because it's going to be part of the process whether you like it or not. Now, you might want to be more forward thinking than I was. I did not think to get a gasket for these. So instead we're going to use RTV and we'll be just fine. But if you're doing this and you're trying to figure out what all you're going to need, the gaskets for that cover would be beneficial. Okay, you've got 4 bolts that hold that, the 4 hardware bolts that hold that plate on. Okay, I believe they're 10 millimeter. After you get this off, by the way, these are all 16 millimeter, okay? And you can kind of turn your wheel hub around as you need to get to these 2 bolts that are under here. So, you know, it'll make it easier. Before you take your tie rod off, okay, you've got 4 bolts on the back of the hub that bolts your tie rod on. Before you break all of these, or before you take this off, break all your hardware bolts loose, okay? Both on your hub as well as up here, okay? It's gonna make life easier for you, and that way, whenever you do, you can go back at that point and take off your tie rod. And if you'll loosen the castle nut, over here. If you loosen the castle nut on your rack and pinion, you can hit it with about a 5-pound hammer, as long as you have your nut up here flush with it, and you can pop that loose, and that'll come off with no problem. You won't even need a pickle fork. So, with that said, that's going to get you to a point where essentially this is sticking through here, okay? And to get it off, this bolt is essentially sticking through here, and it bolts in to the top of this bearing. Okay? So you're going to undo this. Whenever you unbolt this, this whole wheel hub assembly will drop down out of here. Essentially, you know, this is all up and through here. At that point, you can carry it to your bench. So give me a second, and just like magic, you'll already be there. At that point, you're going to need to disassemble this. Okay, so you're going to take your hardware out, pull your hub off. Then, if I was you, of course, it's going to look more representative of this one, okay? Where you still got your felt washer at the top and your seals are still in, and it's, you know, down in there. Down in there, if you turn it over and shake it, you're going to get out a Torrington bearing and 2 Torrington washers. Okay, you do need to pay attention because these are grooved. Okay, and that's what that ball bearing rides on. So you're going to make sure that both of those grooves, when you reassemble, are faced towards the Torrington, and it'll roll nice and smooth. I would clean these. We will be. With that said, you're going to need to clean all your surfaces and everything, because as you can see, we've got new gaskets. So you're going to clean all of your surfaces on both pieces of hardware at both ends. And then once you have that done, as long as you don't have any severe damage to your brass insert here, you should just be in a good enough shape where you can go ahead and replace your seals. Let me wipe my nasty hands. Okay. Let me explain this. You're going to want you a punch, okay? And if you notice, there's, well, let me show you this way. What you've got is essentially 3 items. You have a felt washer at the top. You have your shallow seal, which if you'll notice, the wire's facing up, and the mating surface is facing the other mating surface, okay? See how that's working? That way those 2 areas are sealed away from one another, because on this side is going to be oil, but on this side is going to be grease. Very important that you pay attention to that. And with that said, it kind of gives you an idea. You can see how deep you need to go with this punch, because what you've got to do is go right there, okay? And then you're just going to kind of hold it like this. You're going to take your hammer and pound it from the side, and it'll pull right up and out of there. Maybe you've got a seal tool and you don't have to do it like that, but this way you don't have to buy one. So that's going to get you to the point of cleanup. Once you do all of your parts, clean up and everything, essentially the reinstallation process is very straightforward. You know, it's going to be just exactly like you removed it, but I can walk you through the process again. Essentially, you'll have your Torrington bearings off, and your gear, of course, will already be out. Keep in mind, I'm just doing this loosely so that you kind of get the gist of it, because we haven't cleaned up our surfaces and we're not ready to reinstall. You know what? How about we just take the time to do that? We'll get set up and then we'll just show you the assembly of one. So with that said, give me a moment. We'll get things addressed and we'll be right back. Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance, but we got to wrap this shot up. So with that said, there's a lawn crew next door, but we're going to do our dead level best. As you can see, this little 2007 Jinma is all back together, and she is all tidied up. It is a great running little tractor. The clutch is doing beautifully. It's full of fluids. The front end's all buttoned up and back together. And this thing's, well, it's in good shape. It's ready to go again. So, with that said, I guess this has this little unit all taken care of. So, you know what? Man, it is a nice little tractor. Sure looks nice. Runs good too. You know what? Let's see if I got the keys on me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you know what? Here we go. Let's toss some keys in this dude. Oh yeah. We're just gonna go ahead and turn this dude around so it's ready for the home. Might help to shove it in the right gear, huh? Oh yeah. Man, that little thing just runs like a top. Alright, guys. And we'll just, whoops. There we go. Alright, let a fat man get off the little tractor in some dignified fashion. Alright, folks. That has the 2007 Jinma AK2940. Well, she is all wrapped up. That said, thanks for watching Vintage Diesel Equipment Service. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. Help us grow as a young channel. We will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Alright, folks, so a quick follow-up on the finish to the Jinma. So we are here at the Jinma's little home, and you may or may not have noticed that pesky idiot light pop up on the dash. See, here's our instrument cluster, and if you remember, we replaced our oil sending unit so that it would show us our oil pressures, and here is the pesky oil pressure light. Well, I happened to notice when I went to review the footage to make this video that you're watching that that light was on, and he happened to contact me when he backed it off the trailer, and he noticed it also. So we had to come over here and address that. So if you're having problems with the instruments on this, just know that this is a common problem, and if you got to look for an instrument cluster, I got bad news for you. You're probably not going to find one. So what you're going to have to do is do you a manual gauge, okay? So once you do you a manual gauge, it's going to probably work just fine. Now, there is a chance that you wound up being one of the sad recipients of an oil pump problem. And what it is essentially is a small brass drift pin. roll pin that they use to connect the shaft of the oil pump to the pump itself. You're going to have to drop the oil pan. If you're dealing with a version 1 of this, that's bad, because you're going to have to split this tractor. But if you're dealing with the newer model like this, the oil pump isn't part of the frame. It'll come right out. So with that said, folks, thanks for watching Vintage Diesel Equipment Service. We will see you in the next video. And if you got them Jinmas out there, you give us a shout. We do work on them. See you next time.